Hey, I get it. You're trying to figure out where you spend your money. Do you take a chance on a cheaper mic with great reviews, or do you spend a little bit of extra cheddar for a microphone with features that you may not even need at this point? I understand, it's confusing, but I'm here for you, buddy. Let's talk about it, okay? Internet, welcome back. Robert Teagarden here again with the Teagarden Tech Review. We are reviewing a microphone today, specifically the Fifine Man, this mic is... yeah. Anyway, before I get started, if you haven't already, I'd love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. We're putting out content on a weekly basis on filmmaking and the business of being a creative. So if you like what you see here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for post notifications. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, all that different stuff. A lot of you guys know I'm a part-time professor. I teach a lot of music business and entrepreneurship for creatives. And I have now had my entire curriculum go online until the end of this year due to the pandemic. And so I started to invest in a lot more high quality streaming equipment. And one of the things that I needed was a microphone. Right now I'm recording this with the lav mic that's taped to my chest. Really hurts when you pull it off because I'm a hairy guy. But that doesn't necessarily equate a very quick and easy way of communicating with people. And so a while back, I did a video with Fifine for one of the lav mics that they have, which I still use to this day. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and give it a ring. It's definitely a good video. And so because of that relationship and the need for this new microphone for my setup, I reached out to the people at Fifine, or Fifine, whatever, you guys get the joke. And I said, hey, maybe there's something that we can do here. So they sent me this incredible Fifine T669, and it's in the box. Without further ado, let's take a look and see what's inside this bad boy. We've got our Fifine box, and in the words of Brad Pitt in Seven, what's in the box? I'm sure you're all wondering at this point. So if we open this bad boy up, we've got our Fifine manuals, which are fantastic. We've got our pop filter, pop screen, which helps with your hard consonants like your P's, B's, K's, those types of things that are going to throw a ton of air into the diaphragm of the microphone. Super helpful to have that. If we pull off the foamy homie, we got in here, we got our additional pop screen right here. This sits on top of the microphone itself. We got our USB cableage to hook it up to our computer. These are additional kind of clamps and wires to help with our cradle. Speaking of cradle, here's where it is. Rocking the cradle, robbing the cradle, whatever you want to say. Here is the microphone check 1, 2. What is this? Pull that down, you got your volume knob, and this actually should turn around just like so. And indeed it does. This is going to be wrapping around my desk once it's good to go, or I don't think I'm gonna put it on my desk. I think I'm gonna put it somewhere special. And here's like that little rinky-dink tripod. It's a little desk mount tripod. It's cute, it's quaint, it's nice. I don't know that I'll use it, but it's nice to have it. And then this whole contraption would be the stand, the kind of movable stand. So that's what's in this box. Let's get it all set up, and I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like. Now, back in the studio right now, and through the magic of video editing, I've set up the mic and kind of routed everything into a position of how I use this typically. So what you're hearing right now is the Fifine T669 that's actually being recorded in Audition and then synced up later in post inside Adobe Audition. A couple different things that I've noticed after pulling this thing out of the box and getting it set up. The first is that the USB cable that it comes with seems to have drivers already inside that USB cable itself, which is really cool. You don't have to actually go and download anything via the web. It just plugs right in, software downloads, the drivers install, and everything's good to go from that standpoint. The other thing is that the cable is fairly long, which I actually love. I'm kind of obsessed with cable management and making sure that everything is stealth and clean as possible. I got to look at this side of the camera that you guys don't see. So everything, as you'll see from the B-roll, is kind of zip tied together, and I can tuck everything away nicely. So that long cable management is something that I really appreciate. I can kind of always wrap the excess up and put it behind. So if you're into that sort of thing, it'll definitely help you out as well. The other thing that I noticed is that we've got this little baby tabletop tripod thing that I said. And while I'm sure that there are people that are going to use this, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to have a big need for it in particular. The reason being is something called the proximity effect. And really, when you're using a microphone like this, the ideal distance is about 8 to 10 inches away from your mouth. The reason for that is that you get the closest proximity to your voice without a ton of plosives like hard P's, T's, B's, etc. Your hard consonants that really give those kind of things. That's what the pop filter is for. But you're also cutting out a decent amount of distance from you and the microphone. The closer you are to the microphone, the lower you can set your gain, which means the less ambient noise or the lower your noise floor is going to be. The lower that is, the higher quality of audio performance you're going to get out of this microphone, and really the more professional it's going to sound. So I tend to like the arm that it comes with, not only for my lectures that I do streaming, but also for this type of a setup as well. I think that this actually sounds pretty good, and I'm going to go into exactly why I think that this is the case and why this mic is so valuable for the price. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that you have onboard gain settings with this particular microphone itself. Now, as you see, I've got it already set up inside of the cradle itself. And a note on that cradle, you actually want to make sure you follow the instructions on this thing. People think that you would hide it inside and have it drop in the cradle itself. You actually want to put it on what looks like the bottom. The reason for this is that if you put it on the bottom, you can't access this gain knob that's on the front of the microphone. You could still set it up that way, but you have to set your gain and then put the microphone on the inside. The instructions actually tell you to flip it over, put it on that flat top and mount it from the bottom. You still get the same effective shock mount capabilities or technology, but at least that way you get to access the volume knob itself. So back to the gain settings that I was talking about. The onboard gain settings are really crucial. And now I tend to set mine about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way up because it obviously helps with that noise floor that we were talking about earlier, but there is a tremendous amount of headroom on this mic itself. I'm gonna start to turn this up and you'll hear as things get louder, not only will you hear more ambient in the room, and I'm checking my audition levels right now. I'm just kind of barely poking into that 3 dB, the -3 dB level. And if I go back here, you're probably hearing some clipping. So I'm about 80% of the way up there, which is too much. So I'm back down to where my typical level is, which I think sounds really good. The other thing is that this is just clean audio. Let me kind of put a little bit of post on here, some small compression and some EQ, and you'll really hear how this microphone shines from a post perspective. Now, as I mentioned in the unboxing section, it comes with this smaller kind of pop filter, foamy type of thing. And in my earlier musicianship days, this is kind of plenty. This is really all that I would use. But it also does come with this pop filter here that helps with those plosives. That's what it's called, plosives. Hard consonants that are going to push out a ton of air. So this is me going, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I'm going to do it again. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I don't know exactly what it is that he says picked a pike of pickled peppers. When I have this pop filter in front of me, the plosives are a lot less noticeable, really because it's just deadening the amount of air that's traveling through this, basically nylon stocking. I've had a lot of training where that's concerned, so I tend to kind of minimize the amount of hard consonants that I use, and I don't need another thing hanging off this arm that just looks kind of gross. So yeah, I just use this particular one right here, and it seems to work out fine for me. Another thing that I love about this, obviously the cradle that it comes in is really awesome. I talked about the USB cable being great. The onboard gain setting is fantastic. For the price point, this is a really difficult microphone to beat. If you're getting into reading audiobooks, doing podcasting, any type of streaming, if you want to have any type of setup like this that we're doing right now, where I'm recording videos directly to your internal hard drive, this microphone I think is really a tremendous bang for the buck. So all that being said, would I recommend this Fifine T669? I absolutely would, especially if you consider that this is intended really to be an entry-level microphone. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in this kit that I don't really think you can beat for the price. I know there's other options like the Blue Yeti Nano, but you don't get an arm where that's concerned. It still has to sit on your desktop, and then you get into that weird issue that we were talking about with the proximity effect, that I can't bring this thing close enough to my mouth in order to get the best audio quality possible. You end up hearing a ton of room ambience, which makes your life a lot more difficult in post. So with that being said, guys, take a look at this thing. I threw a link down in the description below. Like I mentioned, Fifine was nice enough to send me this microphone, and I'm so thankful that they did. I'm actually really enjoying it, and the feedback I'm getting not only from my students, but also people that I do a ton of video conferencing with, is that the quality of this microphone on their side is really tremendous. So I'm super grateful that I got the opportunity to play with this thing and do a review for you guys so you could check it out as well. With all that being said, if you like the video, like the damn video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell for post notifications, because that really truly does help the channel. And without further ado, guys, this is Robert T. Garden. I'm heading out of here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, thanks for watching and peace. Comes the hard part of taking off the lav mic with all this body hair on it. That's what I do every time after I turn that camera off.